All right. How's everybody doing? I'm sorry I got in here last minute. I just got off a live Zoom with our Fight Club group. Um, let's see. Start the video and people are popping in. We had quite a few register for this. We'll see how many actually remember and show up. But I am here to talk to you guys about a culture course that I offer 3 to 4 times a year. This will be my second one this year. And it was already scheduled. This was the plan before all of this hit. And I made the decision to go ahead because some of you are not as busy as you normally are, but yet finances are definitely a problem for people, especially the people who go in the home and their clients don't want them in there as much. So anyway, I'm going to talk to you about what the course is about, if it's the right thing for you, if it would help you and your company. Know that when I'm talking about the course, because I might forget to say this later, if you decide to join, you can join, and you can also have your office staff join, whoever you feel like would be beneficial for. And that's not an extra cost. And if you do that, there is a assessment that I have you take at the beginning and at the end. And so let's say there's 3 of you from one office that is in the course. I would want all 3 of you to take that assessment. So, because you're going to all see your cultural issues from a different perspective. And so I think it's helpful that you all take it. And I would suggest you share what you have to say about that. So bear with me. I am going to stop this video. I'm going to share my screen. And I'm just going to go through kind of a little PowerPoint on what the course is about. All right. Get this up here. And you should be able to see my screen. Let me go and make that bigger. Okay, and then I'm not going to watch, I'm not very good at, I'll be honest, I'm not very good at watching comments as they go. So for the most part, if you have questions or whatever, just put them in the Q&A or put them in the chat. Okay, I saw Amy, and see, there's my first get distracted moment. That's why I don't do that. But there are a couple times in here I'm going to ask you some questions, and I do really want to see what you have to say. So this is already messing up on me. Okay, so the course, let me just tell you how this name came about. The course used to be called Culture Turnaround. And while that's not a bad name, I just didn't feel like it conveyed what the course is about. And so I was actually working with a content writer, and she was like, so what do people want? When people come to you or come to the course, what do they want? And, it's like, they just want their employees to give a shit, and so that's how it came about. I don't normally even cuss, so to go this way is is bold for me. But really what it means is you're going to build a culture where your employees care about your company. You get rid of the entitlement, you get rid of the, well, that wasn't me kind of attitudes, and that you build a self-directed, self-motivated culture. All right. And it says 10 weeks to build that. Well, in all honesty, you're going to get the information in 10 weeks. It takes, if you put your nose down and you do the work, and depending on how much work you have to do, I would tell you it takes about 6 months to turn your culture around. And that's the bulk of it. You know, you're going to continue just like I do. I've been doing this for, gosh, 7-8 years, and I still make tweaks to our culture, but you're going to get the information in 10 weeks. All right. So let's talk about if it's right for you. If you are going to say for every idea, oh, I can't do that, my employees are different, you know, if you're going to be saying there's 1,000,001 reasons why it won't work, or you can't try that for everything, then this isn't the course for you, because you will make no changes. Your employees, yeah, they might be a little different than mine, or, you know, the 100 of people that I've worked with, but they're not that much different. I mean, yeah, they might be mainly men compared to mine are mainly females, but we're talking service industry for the most part. I think everybody I saw that was going to attend this is pretty much in the service industry. So we have lots of commonalities. And again, I'm not saying that every single idea that I tell you is a good fit for you, but not everything is not a good fit for you either. So, and you have to be willing to do the work, because this stuff doesn't just happen by snapping your fingers. It is going to require you to do some work. The thing that you will change if you make a difference, you know, if you change your culture, is actually going to be you, and the way that you look at things and the way that you approach things. And this is like a favorite quote of mine, that it's difficult to change your culture because you have to change yourself. And I will tell you, I get people quite often that come to me, and I love, okay, so I don't want to what do you want? What's that word? I don't want to stereotype, but a lot of times, and all you lawn guys that are on here, don't get offended, but I do have a lot of times owner operator kind of people that come, and they're like, they should just do the work. I shouldn't have to do all this. They're getting paid. They should do it. Da, da, da. And they come to me with that kind of attitude. And do I get it? Absolutely, I get it. But what I say back to them is, how's that working for you? Is that working out well? And I hate to tell you, but you've got to learn to play the game, because when you learn to play the game, you get immense benefits from it, and so do your employees. So that's what we're after, you know, is just wrap your head around some of these things are necessary, and you just have to do it to get the results you want. So here's where I'd love for you to share, if you're willing, is what does your current culture feel like right now? Now, for some of you, really, you feel like overall your culture is great. You just need to tweak a few things here or there. Like maybe your biggest problem is they get out of training and they're still having quality issues. Or maybe your biggest problem is that your employees act entitled. But I will tell you, usually when you have an entitled issue, you have some other issues too. So what does it feel like to you right now? And what do you wish it felt like? So I know what my culture used to feel like, and it felt pretty horrible. And we'll go through some of the basically do's and don'ts, but I know how much different it feels now. And again, like I just got off a call with somebody who had to call their employees back. They'd been on unemployment for a month. somebody out in California. And when they started the culture class a year ago, it was kind of an us against them environment. And, you know, management didn't really love employees, and employees really didn't like the owners, managers. My watch. And if he would have had to call back his employees from being furloughed because of the coronavirus a year ago, nobody would have come back. Nobody would have come back because, my gosh, they're making more to be at home. But this year he called his employees back, and you know what? Every single one of them came because he's done the work. He really was one of my, you don't see me, but I'm air quoting, model students. I mean, he really listened and made some changes. And so if you've got some similar problems like that, then you're going from what does it feel like now to what do you want it to feel like? Okay. Let me see if anybody put, nope, you're keeping that to yourself. Okay, and that's okay. All right. So to build a strong company culture, we're going to go through what do you want and need? What do the employees want and need? And what does the company need? Now, you may think that what you want and what the company needs are two of the same things, but I'll give you an example. For me, being a remote owner, and our office staff is remote too. So for me, what I need is I need people to be self-sufficient. All right. I really, really need things to run where they don't need a lot of coddling, and that they're empowered and they can make good decisions. The company, you know, the maid service itself doesn't necessarily need it to the level that I need. I mean, it definitely needs them to make decisions. If the door's locked, what do they do? That kind of thing. But I need high level, self-directed employees. And so that's how it can be different. So if you did what does it feel like now? What do you want it to feel like? Why haven't you made those changes already? And that's something to ask yourself. You could be like that person I talked about that you think, well, I mean, it's not working, but why don't they just do their job? I don't want to have to coddle them or baby them. And that's not what I'm going to, quote, teach you to do, but I'm going to have you look at it from a different perspective. And maybe you just don't know what's broken and what's not working. Now, when I started implementing this stuff years ago, honestly, I was ready to throw in the towel. I either had to get things working better. You know, I had to get my culture so much better, or else I just knew I couldn't survive it. Now, hopefully you're not to that point, but if you are, it's just going to take more work from you, but maybe you just need to tweak things. So that's what it's about. So a healthy culture is going to have, when I say pretty reliable attendance, nobody's going to have perfect attendance, but certainly you shouldn't be like I was, where basically it was a roll call. You know, my employees were so undependable, is that a word? But it was so much of a guessing game that honestly, until they came in the office that morning, could I feel at ease that, yep, okay, everybody's here today. I don't have to change the schedule. Now, it wasn't quite that bad, but it was close. And I did have a policy. What policy? And you know how I justified that was the I'm too nice. That's what I told myself, is that I'm just too nice. And that's why I bend the policies. But I didn't really see the damage that I was doing. So now, I mean, everybody, the policies are the policies, and we all follow the policies. Now, I dreaded coming to work. I'm sure they dreaded coming to work. And now I'm not going to say that people wouldn't prefer to not have to come to work every day, because, you know, they got things to do too. But they feel good about where they work. They feel good about the work that they do. And when they leave to go home, it's not, you know, their mood is not a toxic mood where I hate my job, I hate this, I hate this, you know, and then they go home and they take it out on their family. No, it's not like that at all. When I see my staff and we have monthly meetings, and I mean, I always leave those meetings feeling so good about the company and the people that work there. And, you know, I may dread having to take that time out of my day because I'm selfish with my time. But when I do and I leave, I think I love them. It's great. But man, I would not have told you that years ago. And most people that start this course, well, I shouldn't say most, but many people are like the guy that I told you about that really doesn't like his employees and they don't like him. And then lastly, and I really feel like this is kind of at the core of what you have to change, is implementing trust in your company. That you trust your employees and they trust you. And you may not have even thought about that side of it, that they need to trust you as well. But they do. So you just got to figure out what is keeping you from fixing the problems that you know that you have. And yep, it's hard, but it is worth it. So let's get into the modules and talk a little bit about what we're going to do. So in week 1, you'll identify your issues. And it's not as simple as that. We're going to, you know, most of these things are 45 minutes to an hour. And we're going to go through in the webinar, and I'm going to help you identify what your top issues are and what's kind of at the root of those problems. And for many people, it is following the policies. So we're going to be talking about how you can do that more consistently, among other things. Then week 2, you're going to identify their issues. And it cannot be all about what you or the company needs. That will not solve your problems. You have to marry the two. And never am I asking you to be a doormat and get walked all over. Not asking that at all. But you have to build an environment where it's not all about you and the company, but it's about them as well. And then how you marry the two so that it's cohesive and everybody's getting what they need and want. Okay. And often it isn't about money. I do want to say, in case you haven't seen, I do have that bad manager questionnaire. And we talk about that in week 2. We actually go through that and how I want you to implement it and everything. And that, so when I say often it isn't about the money, you're going to be surprised that if you do use that questionnaire, many times it's about your consistency or some other things that they perceive to be broken in the company. And we're going to talk about how you ask, why you have to ask, because even if you don't ask, they're thinking it anyway, and you can't fix it if you don't know what they think. So we'll be talking about that. Week 3, we're going to talk about how you weed out for cultural fit. And I know that it's hard to hire people at this time, but you have to start shifting your thinking. And I'm telling you, as you build a stronger company culture, it gets easier and easier to do because employees like working there. But you're going to have a process from your ad to your interview to your hiring and your onboarding on how you're weeding people out to make sure they're a good fit for your company. It just means that funnel has to be big because it's a big funnel, and to get the right people, there's going to be fewer of those than just warm bodies. But if you don't have the A players that everybody's referring to these days, then you're going to have the D and F problems. So it's hard to change your culture when you allow those people to stay. They still will occasionally get in my business, but I'm quick to weed them out. And we'll talk about that. Now, training. That is not going to have anything to do with how to clean a bathroom or how to mow a lawn or how to clean the windows. It's not going to have anything to do with that. It is going to be about some characteristics to your training that will make you more successful. Now, we'll talk about what are the problems with your training. You know, is it time? Is it they don't care? Is it quality? You know, we'll get down to what are your issues, and then what are some things you can do in training to ensure a better result. Week 5 is going to be on performance evals, and we'll go over like team member, team lead, even office manager, field manager. I'll have examples of mine, and all along I'll have some documents that are examples that you can use. But all of this, I'm going to emphasize to you, you're absolutely welcome to use anything that I put in the documents, but make it your own, because my culture is not your culture. And we're going to talk about how to make it your own. Week 6 is pay for performance. And I think the funny part is, you know, really that's what people know me for. And that is where you're going to hear a little bit about quality driven. And by the way, you do not have to use quality driven to get benefit out of this class. Here's the part right here that quality driven will absolutely help you, because you'll have the reports and so forth. But you can do pay for performance can be all different things. It's not just about quality numbers and client satisfaction. So we'll talk about that stuff. But yeah, I think it's funny that it's not till week 6. But there's so much you have to do to build up. You know, if your culture isn't very strong and you slap a pay for performance program up, you are not going to get the results you want. And then week 8, transparency. And to me, transparency equals trust. And you know, when I showed you strong culture and toxic culture, and I said trust is at the core of it, transparency is where that comes to life. And again, quality driven does help with transparency too, but we spend less than 5% of the time of this whole thing that has anything to do with quality driven. So if you don't use it, don't be scared. It's not a sales pitch for quality driven. I will give you a free trial if you don't use it. so you can see if it's a fit. But other than that, that's about as much as you're going to hear about that. And then I do see a question. I'll get distracted. Oh, I skipped a week. Well, I'm glad I looked. Okay. Well, let me see if I can get back to that. Oh, I did. The slide skips a week. So pay for performance. I don't know. There's another week in there. Sorry about that. Let's see. Yeah, celebrations. Transparency. I don't know. Sorry, Jennifer. I skipped a week. It's not coming to me, but I promise you there's 10 weeks in there. So I will tell you the evolution of this is I originally started with 6 lessons, 6 months. And our webinars would go way long. And I mean, we're talking a couple hours long, and 6 months, even though I think it takes about 6 months to turn your culture around, it's too long. It's too long. And when people are ready to attack something and make it better, they really want to condense it, including myself. So that's why we went down to weeks. And this last, I'm air quoting, class that went through this, I did ask them what they thought about that. And they really all liked the back-to-back weeks because it kept them engaged. So week 9 is celebrations. And I will explain to you more about what I mean by celebrations, but that's not necessarily parties and things. That is related to goals. It's related to, it can be your employees' goals. It can be company goals. It can be daily things that you do that are more attaboy kind of things. And then the last week, I review a couple of my favorite employee engagement books. And basically what I'm doing is giving you cliff notes on the top books that really made an impact for me. And I will outline what I feel are the biggest takeaways, and then kind of what I took away from those books and how that changed my business. So we will wrap up with that. And then let's see. Okay, so I think what happened, Jennifer, is that I had the same week for a couple of the classes. Maybe training was week 3 and 4 or something like that. So the count just got off. Oh, no, I take it back. Here's that one. So yeah, sorry about that, guys. We did do 12 weeks last time, and I'm continually refining it to what people say they liked and they wish they had less of. So some of these we split into 2 sessions last time, and we're condensing. Like training was split into 2 sessions last time. And we didn't really need that. Okay. All right. So it's weekly webinars, and I record every one of the webinars. They are on Wednesdays at 2 p.m. Central. And like I say, they are recorded. I do go in and upload it into the course module that you guys will all have access to, along with your office staff if you want. And then I'll stop the recording, and then we'll do question and answer at the end. And that's the benefit of being on the live webinar, is there's a lot to be gained by the question and answer. You guys know that. I mean, a lot of times somebody will answer or ask a question that is very similar to a problem you're having. And it is just on the spot, us working that out and helping, me helping that person solve that problem that they have in their particular company. The documents are included, and there's documents for pretty much every week that you have the class. The book review and stuff, I'm just going to tell you what the books are. But, and then to me, this is really the crucial part of it. Yes, you're going to get the information, but then I'm going to give you homework. Now, if that's an area that you don't really need to tweak, then you get to skip your homework that week. But the homework is really where you're going to make the changes that you need to make. And then I will add you to a private Facebook group. What I find is that it is the easiest way for me to answer your questions. There is a place inside the course module, but then, I mean, and if you want yours to be private, then I guess that's a better place to put it. But here's the thing is, people learn from each other. And so I prefer you to ask in that private Facebook group. There's about 40 people in there. So that's where I prefer it, but got multiple ways that you can ask questions. So Wednesdays at 2 p.m. Central, and we do start tomorrow. So we start tomorrow. If you're wanting to join the class, but you can't start tomorrow at 2, it is recorded, but I do really encourage you to be on the call if you can. And you'll have access to the material for 6 months. Now, the reason that I do that, the 6 months, and I probably will end up making it less time as we go along, is if it's open-ended, you're going to think you're going to come back to it later, and you won't come back to it later. You really won't. And so one of these days, I probably will make it like 3 months access, just to light a fire under everyone and just understand that, I mean, I know how we all are. We're busy, we get distracted. And if you don't do it at the time, chances are you probably won't do it. Okay, so this class is normally going to cost $750. So when we get out of this thing, which is still really cheap, I mean, it's $75 a class. When we get out of this thing, and hopefully by July, I think is when the next class should start, then that'll be the way we do it. And this is the first time I've offered payment plans. So the total cost of the class is $550. But because I know that people are in a bad way financially, at least until you start getting some of the money, or, your numbers start going back up or whatever your situation is, I knew that, one, I wanted to go ahead and have the class, even though it's a bad time to be saying, hey, pay for this. And I don't want to do it for free, but yet I want to make it to where I can help people and, not ask for the farm when it's just a bad situation. So needless to say, the class is 10 weeks and you would pay for it almost 2 years if you did this. So that's like buying a car on a 20-year plan or something. What this is about is it's a way for you to pay a little bit now. And then when you get in a better financial place, hopefully like this summer, then you can pay the rest off. I mean, I think it'd be depressing to pay for this for 22 months. You can, but yeah. So, and then I just put these other payment plans because some people don't want to pay that little. So you've got options. All right, and how you sign up. So let me go in and put in chat if you want more information. you would go to that link that I put right there. Let's see, why does it end up, this is from Karina, why does it end up being more for paying it off for 12 months or 6 months? Because I don't feel like any of you are going to end up paying these installments for the entire time, Karina. So really what these payment plans are about is that, you know, and for example, the $49 plan you pay for 12 months, and that would end up being $588 instead of $550. Well, if you pay 2 or 3 months at $49 and you want to pay the rest off, then you're not going to pay the $588. You're going to pay whatever's remaining on the $550, if that makes any sense. So don't really worry about that, because I remember I was struggling with the amounts, and you know, I'm not trying to charge anybody interest or anything like that. The total cost is $550. You can make payments, and then when you're ready to pay the rest off, it's just going to be whatever's remaining for the $550. So hopefully that makes it a little more clear. And Karina, we're going to talk, because you've taken this class before, and I don't want you to pay the whole thing. I always give people, and it's not uncommon for people to take it again. Sometimes they're taking it for a different business, or they didn't implement everything and they think this will hold them accountable. And so if you are taking it again, I'm going to give you a substantial discount, because yeah, you need to, I don't want you to pay the whole amount, is what I'm getting at. So let's see. Kate, I don't see a link or anyone's comments. So it says all panelists. So Karina had put, okay, my link was just all panelists. So I'm going to put all panelists and attendees. That was the problem. Thank you, Kate. So now you should be able to see it. You are welcome. Oh, Karina says the class is so worth it. And I really appreciate that. And I am not one to toot my own horn at all. I don't really love that at all. But I will say, I know the class helps people, and it means a lot, like what I heard just an hour ago about how they just didn't feel like they would have been able to call their employees back from unemployment, and people show up. I mean, that's why I do it, because I know how much difference it's made, not only in my life and my business, but other people's lives and businesses. And, you know, when I say your lives, we all know our business is a huge part of our lives. And if our business is so stressful because of our employees, being able to fix some of these problems does help you and your mental well-being in your life. So that's all from my soapbox. But oh yeah, hi Kim. I recorded it, so I'll send anybody that was registered for the class, I'll send you it. But we all know it's harder to listen to a recording than it is live. So anyway, let me see if there's any other questions. Just joined. Awesome. Nice. Let's see. There are a few questions, so let's see what we have. Does this work if you have ICs? Yeah, definitely. So if you have independent contractors, now, so some of it won't work because you can't hold them to training principles or expectations, and you can't hold them to policies. But really the part that will work is the transparency part, the pay for performance part. And when I say pay for performance, maybe with independent contractors, that means who gets jobs and who doesn't. So the accountability piece is huge, but there will be parts that won't be applicable for independent contractors that, you know, only you can use with employees. Will I be talking about how I run my business remotely during the course? A little bit. It's not really geared for that, Chris, but so when I talk about transparency and when I talk about how the staff are self-directed, self-motivated, the only way that happens is because of basically the expectations that are put in place and then the choices that I allow them to make. So yes and no. I don't mean to be elusive there. I'm not going to be talking about like, I'll touch on office staff and how I look at their goals and measures, but it's mainly about how I get my field staff to do what I need them to do. And like I say, you know, I went from an environment where literally I bribed the employees to behave when I would go to a course for 3 days. And that was the culture that I used to have, and many people I've worked with have. And then now they see me once a month. They see a management staff person once a month. And our quality is way better than it used to be, and attendance and so forth. So yeah, it's just about putting those accountability measures in place and sticking to them and making them transparent so people know exactly where they're at. We'll talk a lot about that. Singing the song. Okay, great. So, all right. Any other questions? Anything that, you know, you want to know if I'm going to cover, or questions about the logistics or anything like that? All right. I think I got it all. Okay. And let me just double check the Q&A. Oh, so can everybody see? The only thing that I see here is about the link to sign up. Everybody see that okay? I'll put that in there one more time. And I think I solved that problem because it was just panelists and I made it all panelists and attendees. How long is a typical season? Jennifer, can you tell me what you mean by that? Oh, session. Okay. Oh, gosh, you typed it right. I read it wrong. Okay, so a typical session is about 45 minutes, and I'm over here smiling when I say that. You can probably tell I'm a talker. And so I try and keep it to 45 minutes, and some sessions are more robust than others. And then we open it up for questions. So I have had a weekly session last as long as an hour and a half, but I'm going to try and deliver the information to you in 45 minutes. And then that way, if you need to go, you can go. But I guess I would block out an hour and a half, but I will give you most all of the webinar content in 45 minutes. Anything else? Okay. If you do decide to join the group, like I say, we start tomorrow at 2 p.m. Central. It will be on Zoom. Everything's on Zoom. You'll get a link. That should always be the same Zoom link, unless for some reason I have to change the date, which occasionally I do, but I give you weeks notice. I won't do that last minute. I mean, unless I guess I had a real emergency, but I haven't done that before. I wouldn't expect that out of me. But yeah, it's, we're going to meet through Zoom. And what I have found is that they're very interactive. So I will present to you the first 45 minutes-ish, give or take, and then we'll open it up for questions. And again, I think that's as valuable as anything, is people saying, well, here's my problem. What do I do about that? And I'm going to give you my take on how I would solve that. And then what I've noticed is, I mean, some people have gone through similar things and they have some great suggestions as well. So I'm going to have the perspective of what I've done and what the people I've worked with have done. And there will be some other things where somebody says, oh, you know what I tried? And gosh, and that's why that Facebook group comes in handy, because you get all kinds of perspectives. And I love that. Sometimes I'm going to say, and you know, I'm not going to call anybody on the carpet for it, for any, you know, by any means, but sometimes I will say, okay, so you can absolutely try that, but here's something to worry about. Like, here's something to watch if you're going to try that. And then we go from there. So let's see, Kim, yes, absolutely. Just shoot me a private message on Facebook and then we can chat about that. Okay. All right. Well, I don't want to keep you guys any longer. It's been 50 minutes. I appreciate it. I hope to see several of you there tomorrow. And if it's not right for you right now, I'll see you in July or whenever. But yeah, I don't want to be the spammy salesperson. This will be the cheapest that it's going to be in the future. But if it's not the right time, it's not the right time. So do what you need to. And I'll see many of you tomorrow. Okay. Bye-bye.